In this episode, we talk about how to beat procrastination. Get excited because this is Tiny Leaps, Big Changes. Welcome to another episode of Tiny Leaps, Big Changes, where I share simple strategies you can use to get more out of your life. My name is Gregg Clunis, and in this episode, we're tackling a problem that many of us struggle with. Procrastination is one of those things that no matter what it is you're trying to do, no matter what area of your life you want to improve, no matter what goal you want to accomplish, it will rear its ugly head. It will pop up and it will hold you back, because ultimately at the end of the day, procrastination is all about not doing things. And at the end of the day, you can think about your goals, you can plan, you can take the time to do all the inner work and yada, 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 but you have to actually do something in order to get the result. So this is one of the biggest problems in personal development. And in this episode, we're going to try and significantly reduce its effect on your life. Now, before we jump into the episode, I do want to remind you to take the survey. If you haven't already, head over to tinyleaps.fm/survey. When you do, you'll be entered for a chance to win one of 3 $50 gift cards. And that is the best way to share with me what you want to hear on this show. So by taking the survey, you give me the chance to create better content for you, and you're entered for a chance to win one of 3 $50 gift cards. Head over to tinyleaps.fm/survey and get it done today. Okay, so let's jump into procrastination. How do we limit its effect on our lives? Well, if we think back, I believe back in the 90s, like back in the number 90s, the episode 90s, I did a 5-part series on procrastination and how to avoid it, how to get it out of your life, essentially. And it was based on an article series by Celestine Chua. In her words, she found that there are 2 main reasons that we procrastinate, right? Reason number 1 is because we just don't have interest in that thing. And then reason number 2 is that we don't feel good enough. We don't feel competent, like we're capable of doing that thing. Now, luckily for most of us, if we're procrastinating around something that we actually want, something that we've chosen, something in our own lives, a goal that we've set and taken the time to think through, we can pretty much rule out reason number 1, right? Because by definition, if you've chosen this goal, if you are moving towards this thing by choice, there is interest there. You are curious about it. You're interested in it. You're passionate about it. Whatever term you want to use, it is a thing that you are choosing for your life. And so you don't have to worry about procrastinating simply because you're not interested. Like, that's not going to be your problem. So we've ruled out lack of interest as the reason for our procrastination. So what's the other one? Well, it's a lack of confidence, lack of feeling like you're capable of doing that thing. And often when this occurs, it's simply because we are overwhelming ourselves, right? We look at this task, this massive mountain in front of us, and we just cannot see the top. We can't see how you possibly get there. And that overwhelm, that realization that this thing you're trying to do is much bigger than probably anything you've done so far, that realization hits you. And all of a sudden, you start to feel like, well, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if everyone notices that I tried this thing and I wasn't good enough and they laugh at me? What if I get judged? What if all of these things pop into your head? That's where a lot of our procrastination comes from in our lives. So how do we deal with that? Well, there's 2 simple things, 2 things that I've done in the last year that has dramatically changed this for me. It's something that I first sort of started testing out back in February, I believe, of 2019, or just at the end of January. And for me, the thing that I was procrastinating on was getting brands to work with this show, right? I like the sales process, actually. I just don't really like the outreach process. I don't like I didn't feel at the time that the show was good enough to work with certain brands and so on and so forth. And so one thing I started to do that helped me dramatically was being underwhelming with my target Now, what do I mean by that? Often when we hear about setting goals, right, the big thing we hear is aim for this big thing, right? Shoot for the stars because then you'll land on the moon if you miss, like all of that, right? Now, should you aim for something big? Sure. Like, why not? There's really no harm to it. But if that thing is overwhelming us, then we need to chunk it down. We need to figure out what our daily target or our weekly or our monthly or whatever it is target looks like that is actually underwhelming, that feels so tiny and ridiculous that of course we're going to accomplish it. Right? We need to find that small thing that is going to help us gain the momentum required to actually tackle the bigger things. And not to mention, by eating that massive thing one bite at a time, eventually you're able to eat the entire thing, right? You don't go into it trying to stuff everything into your mouth. You go one bite at a time. You don't jump to the top of the mountain. You lift one leg and one arm and you pull yourself up and you repeat that over and over and over and over again. That's how you accomplish massive goals. It's by doing the tiniest thing repeatedly. So that's the first big step, is you have to underwhelm yourself with the target. You have to take this thing that feels overwhelming, find the smallest piece of it that you can focus on every single day, and do it over and over and over and over and over again. That's it. So that's the first big step. You've got to underwhelm yourself with the target. The second step, the second thing that helped me, and this, quite frankly, is probably more important than the first, and it's also the thing that people don't think about. The second thing is to be very disciplined about not doing more. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? If you've got the energy, why wouldn't you put in just a little bit more time? Like, why am I not telling you to hustle, 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 hustle? Well, it actually makes a lot of sense if you take the time to think about it. Because at the end of the day, if this is a thing you feel overwhelmed by, or even if it's a thing you're not interested in, you don't want to be doing it. That's why you're procrastinating. If you decide, if let's say you want to, and actually I'll just use a real example here. So for me, this time last year, I was doing outreach for brands and I didn't want to do it. I hated that part of it, right? I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like we could actually land deals. So I just didn't want to face any of that. What I decided to do was say, okay, I'm going to spend 30 minutes every single morning. 30 minutes, that's it. It's a tiny, tiny goal. There wasn't like, oh, I need to reach out to this many people. There wasn't, I need to collect this many emails. It was just put 30 minutes on the clock, and for those 30 minutes, I'm doing whatever gets done on this one task. That's it. So what happened here? Well, I did my 30 minutes one day, and that felt okay. Did it feel great? No. Did I love it? No. But it felt fine. It felt like 30 minutes is a short amount of time. It's underwhelming. So then the next day, I felt more inclined to do my 30 minutes. Why? Because it didn't feel that bad the first day. It was fine. And the next day, it didn't feel that bad. It was fine. Now, if on any of those days, I had decided, you know what, I feel good today, I'm going to do an hour. Would that have been beneficial? Yes. In the moment. Because long term, I now have a memory of this thing that I don't want to do for whatever reason. I don't want to do it, taking an hour of my time, and that doesn't feel as underwhelming. That doesn't feel as whatever. And so because that memory is now there, because that fear is now there, that this thing that I don't want to do that's already negative in my mind also has now this negative, long, a lot of effort, blah, blah, blah thing attached to it, now I'm less likely to come back. Now I'm less likely to stick with it long term. Now I'm less likely to actually keep showing up. And I would much rather, and I think you would much rather this as well, I would much rather show up every day for a small amount of time than put in a ton of time and then fall off. In the long run, it's much more valuable to do less on each individual day. So that's how it works. You have to first underwhelm yourself so that there's no opportunity for you to feel overwhelmed with the task. And then you have to be disciplined about actually sticking to that underwhelming task, actually sticking to not doing more just because you happen to feel good that particular day. Now, can you increase the amount of time you spend? Yes, but it's got to become the new standard. I would argue, and this is, again, this sounds counterintuitive. Like this is, if you go and tell your friends like, oh, this is the strategy, they're going to say you're insane. But I would say that if you can commit to 30 days every single day for the next month, or rather 30 minutes, every single day for the next month. I would rather you actually do 30 and shut down at 30, regardless of what's going on. Don't shut down at 31 because you just wanted to send out that extra email or whatever it is, right? Shut down at 30 every single day, but show up for 30 every single day. I'd rather you do that than show up for 30 and then an hour and then hour and a half because you just feel great right now, and then 15 because, and then not at all. I'd rather you just stay consistent, even if it's a short period of time. So this has been helpful. Listen, if you haven't taken the survey yet, head over to tinyleaps.fm/survey. That's the best way to tell me what you want to hear on this show. I literally just want to make content for you. So tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what topics you want to have me cover, and I will make it. I will literally make that content. Head over to tinyleaps.fm/survey. Plus, once you do, you'll get a chance to win one of 3 $50 Amazon gift cards. If you haven't already, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Gregg Clunis. Click subscribe, like the video, drop a comment down below. Subscribe on audio wherever you are listening. And as always, I've been Gregg Clunis, and remember that all big changes come from the tiny leaps you take every day.